So I made a list of all the books that I still want to read in 2024. A Place for Us. I'm reading that right now. Just started it. The Bees, Laline Paul. The Bee Sting, Paul Murray. Lullabies for Little Criminals, Heather O'Neill, which I know is going to be wonderful. Nights of Plague, which I spelled wrong. Orhan Pamuk. The Age of Vice, Deepti Kapoor. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, James McBride. This is Happiness, Neil Williams. I've had that on my shelf for so long, but I've heard so many people say that it was absolutely wonderful, so it's on my to-do list this year. The Endless Vessel, Charles Soule, who wrote um, Anyone, which was fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I actually have the finished copy, so I very gifted um, the arc of it a couple days ago. Black Butterflies, Priscilla Morris, which is about the Sarajevo conflict and genocide. Thistlefoot, Jenna Rose Nethercroft. I started to read that out loud to someone, but they weren't into it, and I was, so now I took it, and I'm going to be reading it for myself. Welcome to Night Vale, which is awesome. That's going to be great. It's by the same authors that wrote The Invisible Woman That Lives in Your House, or something like that. That was a big hit of mine last year or the year before. Ghost Woods by C.J. Cook, because I'll read everything that she writes. Frankenstein in Baghdad has been on my list for a very, very long time, but its premise is just so like up my alley that I can't wait to read it. Alias Grace, Margaret Atwood. That's a big one, and now that it's come out as a show, I definitely want to read it like ASAP. Still Life, um, by Louise Penny, because I got the first 10 books in her series. Um, it's like a detective series in a little town in Canada, and it's just like, I don't know. I read one that's like 15 books in, and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to read the whole series. God help me. Determined, Robert Sapolsky. I started that a couple months ago, maybe like in November, December, and it's super interesting about whether we really have choice, free will or not, or whether we're determined in our behavior and outcomes due to the hardwiring in our brains and our neurology. And it started to get like super intense on the neurology side, and I just was like lost. So I do want to get back into that. The Puzzle Master, Danielle Trussoni, I did start that, but then I got distracted. The author did send me her the copy herself, which was really, really generous and awesome. And I loved her last book, so I'm definitely going to be reading that. Then I have Freshwater for Flowers, Valerie Perrin, which is translated, I believe, from French and has gotten wonderful reviews by people that I trust. Lessons in Chemistry, Bonnie Garmis. I watched the series and loved it. I think there's going to be another season, but I decided I wanted to read the book because I'm sure there's like way more to the story and I'll probably love it. The Warmth of Other Suns, Isabel Wilkerson. I did start that last month, and I got about 100 pages in, so I want to continue slowly on through that. That's a nonfiction. And The Three Daughters of Madame Liang by Pearl S. Buck, because that was written in 1969, and which was the year that I was born. Old head, I know. And I decided that I was going to do a project on reading some books from the years since I've been born, which I got from um, a, a booktuber that I really enjoy watching, but my brain is fried right now, so I can't remember her name. I will get back to give her credit for that. North Woods by Daniel Mason, which, if it's executed well, will be a big hit with me. In Memoriam, Alice Wynne, The River We Remember, William Kent Kruger, The Covenant of Water by Abraham Ver Verghese. I'm not sure how to say the last name. Um, that is a huge, huge tome, and everybody that's read it is like, it's worth every page of it's like 500-600 pages long. So I'm really looking forward to that. The Cosmos in Her Hand, Jennifer Cyphers. She has this book that is also a huge tome, and I specifically saved it for this year because this is my year of reading big books. And her book is like one that is going to be really in depth. I think that it has a little bit of fantasy in it, or sci-fi, or both, and I'm here for it. Alone with You in the Ether, Olivie Blake. That's supposed to be a real heartbreaker. Might be somewhat romance, I'm not sure. The Women, Kristen Hanna. I actually have the audio of that, so if I prioritize that, I might be able to read it and listen to it at the same time, which is something I've never completely done all the way through. The Winter of Our Discontent by Steinbeck, because I'm reading everything that he's written, because I think he's like just one of those authors that, if he was alive, I'd probably stalk him. um, anyway, that's a story for another day. I have a big thing for Steinbeck. The Garden of the Prophet, Khalil Gibran, which I believe I read many years ago, because this book that I have is probably one of the original, what do you call it? I forget it. It's my mom's book, and I know I've read it before, and she loved it, and so did I. So I'm going to reread it. This Is Your Mind on Plants, Michael Pollan. Um, I love his writing and his insights into the natural world and psychedelics. So I'm really interested in reading that. This Tender Land, that's another one by William Kent Kruger. Mother Daughter Murder Night, Nina Simon, because that sounds like fun. How to Solve Your Murder, actually, How to Solve Your Own Murder, by Kristen Perrin. I actually just got today in the mail a finished copy of that, and I have a beautiful ARC copy of it, so I may be doing a giveaway of that, because like, it's just, so beautiful. And I did not think that the hard copy could be even more beautiful, but I think it might be. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. Natchez Burning, um, Greg Illes. That's the one that I got about 30 copies of from the publisher by mistake. And I wound up giving away quite a few copies of that, as well as fairy gifting a couple copies. And so I have to read it myself. Never Let Me Go, um, Ishiguro. That is a classic that has been on my shelf as a library, um, an old copy, a used copy that I got from a library sale, and it's been there for a couple years, so I really want to read that. Okay, forget all that nasty writing that I wrote above. Um, 38, Divine Rivals, Rebecca Ross. This was really like Instagram made me do it. Buy, because I see it everywhere, and it was just a beautiful book, and everybody said it's lovely, so I decided to try it. 10 minutes, 38 seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak. I forget how to say her name, I'm so sorry. But this book I started to read, and I was so intrigued, but I had to stop because I was in the middle of too many at the same time. So I'm definitely getting back to that. And I do have a couple other books by her. The Island of Missing Trees, also, I have And I really, really want to read that one too, but um, I just picked this one because I had started to read it and loved it. The Undertaker's Daughter by Kate Mayfield. She wrote The Parentations, and I really enjoyed that book. And this book is literally like a memoir of her life and growing up as the Undertaker's daughter, literally. And it kind of gives me vibes of um, the woman that wrote Don't Let My Cat Eat My Eyeballs or something. I'm sorry, that's probably a bad example, but I can't remember the woman's name, but there's another person that is very popular that has written books on death and death practices and things like that, and how we can change maybe the way we view death and things like that. So I kind of thought this was going to be like a very interesting read. Plus, I really like her as a person. She's on Instagram, so follow her and check out her book, The Parentations. Tomb of Sand, I don't have the author's name there, but it won, I think, the International Booker last year. And was it the Booker? I think so. The International? Yeah. I think it was the International Booker, and it looks like just an epic, epic story. Again, it's kind of a tome, so I saved it for a year where I knew I wasn't going to try to read too many new releases, that I was just going to devote this year to reading the books that I gathered last year and in previous years that I really felt were going to be like five-star reads for me. So I'm gonna read that. After Sappho, that is like I started to read that too and was like, oh my god, this is so good. Um, but I put it down because again, it wasn't the right time for it. I was in the middle of some other things. But I definitely am looking forward to that. Night by Illy Weissel. That's a classic. It's very, very short, so I know I'll definitely be reading that. Crime and Punishment. Don't ask me to say Russian dude's name. Let me tell you something. There's a big long story with me and Crime and Punishment. Um, I tried to read that like 28 years ago and DNF'd it, even though I was enjoying it. Just life got in the way. Excuse all that noise in the background because I live in the city and people are so loud. Um, and 45, The God of Small Things. Definitely want to read that. I think I have a couple more. Yeah, I do. Okay, lovely. So I have the last part of my list is a trilogy by Kate Moss. I think it's a trilogy. I don't know if it's going to go any further, but it is like historical fiction of like a historical event that actually happened. Think about the Huguenots. Was it France? There were murders. I don't know exactly, but I'm hoping to learn about it, and it just sounds like such an epic story. I was offered the Ghost Ship as like a an arc, and when I saw that it was a trilogy and I hadn't read the first two, I was like, ah, oh, damn it! Now I got to buy the first two. So I bought them, and I really don't think I'm gonna, really, really, really don't think I'm gonna regret it at all. Kate Moss is a huge author. I believe she's involved with the Women's Prize, where she was originator of the Women's Prize. If I'm wrong, please don't kill me. But she is a very, very, very well-known British author, and I have not read anything by her. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And 49, The Naked Don't Fear the Water. That is going to be amazing. It's written by a journalist who actually took a he was in, I think, Afghanistan, and it was like him taking a route that people who are trying to get out of like a refugee experience, and he did that with like another person that lived there and wanted to get out, and he wanted to have an authentic experience with that. And so it's his story of what happened during that experience, and I'm really looking forward to that. I did start that also. and need to get back to it. Now, this last one cracks me up because the name is staggeringly obnoxious. It's called A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius by Dave Eggers. This came out in 2001, and I DNF'd it back in the day. Um, Not quite sure why I DNF'd it, to tell you the truth. It could have been one of those things where I just was like a busy bitch back then, and I didn't have time to read it, or something about it took a turn and I didn't like the turn, and so I stopped. I used to DNF books a lot more when I was younger. Now I kind of like soft DNF them, like, and come back to them later. Um, if I hate them, then I won't. But I don't really run into that many books that I hate anymore, because I feel like I'm really learning what I love. And um, that book was, I think, a giveaway by one of my friends. And I said, "Oh my God, I know that book. Oh my God, I know that book." And it kind of reminds me of, like, the other book that became really, really popular lately. What was it? Um, the hell? Um, A Little Life. And I thought, maybe this book will take it. Maybe this book will see a resurgence. Who knows? You never know. Sometimes a book from like 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago pops up out of nowhere and people say, "Oh yeah, that was a good book." And then a whole bunch of new generation of people decide to read it. I don't know about this one. I really don't think it'll happen, especially not by me bringing it up. But just wondering if there's any of you out there, especially people my age or older, have you read that book? Like, what did you think of it? Was I like dead wrong to hate that book? Or, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I just did not finish it. I also DNF'd. Oh my God. I don't want to get too deep into it. I wanted to reread Murakami this year, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, because I started that back in the day when it was probably released, and then DNF'd it when it became obvious, like, that it took a radical left turn into magical realism. And at the time, number one, I wasn't expecting it, and number two, um, I didn't like it. And now I think I do like that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if my tastes have changed in the last 20, 25 years, or whenever the hell I read it. Maybe it was 15 years ago. So anyway, if I get a chance, I will try to attempt to reread that and hopefully love it. I was loving it so hardcore until it took that turn, and I just was like, what the hell just happened? Like, sometimes when a really big novel takes a turn that you don't like, it really ruins it for you. At least that's, been my experience. And so I haven't been reading a lot of really big books. What was the biggest book I've read lately? I don't think any. I keep stalling. Like, even City of Brass, that was really good, but it was really long, and I stalled in it, and then I stopped reading it. Like, why did I stop reading that? I was enjoying it. But, like, because I read so many books at once, if a book is too long, it might just get put aside temporarily, and that becomes permanently. Accidentally, on purpose. I don't know. All right, I'm rambling now. So this is my list. I've already read, I think, 11 books so far this year, so I've been pretty good on track. I don't know if I can read another, what is this, 50, 51. There's a couple other ones. There's a couple other little tiny surprises I might throw in there as well. And as well as some more audiobooks. None of these I have on audio except for The Women. So I'm so screwed because I don't know that I have time to read like all of these books. So let me know if you've read these, if you want to read these, if you want to do a read along with me on any of these. But right now, I am reading A Place for Us, and I really have a feeling that that's going to be a great story. A lot of people have put it on their best of, so I'm very hopeful for that. All right, have a good Saturday night, people. This has been my exciting one.